Thanks for joining me today on Duty Found. Today we're actually going to do things a little different. We'll be going into the level 44 dungeon today, Dzemael Darkhold. This is one of the original dungeons from 1.0. Now, this is actually a group of people from my FC, Ruanark, Steel, and Snapcaster. So it's going to be a different pace than we're used to, and this is actually for Snap's Relic, just trying to get a drop. As Steel wanted to heal, I'll be going in as a monk this time. So it's going to be a different viewpoint, different set of abilities, and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's going to be great. Now, as this is an experienced party, we're actually going to be skipping quite a lot of stuff. With DD, these crystal areas actually give you a very potent reduced incoming damage buff. So you can gather up all these mobs and fight right there, so you're able to take out quite a lot of them at the same time. It's really good for leveling up new people's classes. This is one of the best dungeons so far in the beginning for getting your levels in. Okay, looks like we are not sacking this, we're going full on. So, let's get going. There are quite a few of these, so it's a very AoE heavy pull right now. Important to get as many AoE damage abilities out in as short time as you can. With Monk, a huge part of playing Monk is swapping between stances. Each of your abilities, your main abilities, are going to change your stance, give you a different access to different abilities as you go. TP management is usually about the most important thing you can do as a DPS, but with this sort of thing, there's only so much you're able to take care of. Alright, and that's settling into the end of this first pull. Alright. Another aspect of this dungeon are these Magitech terminals. You need to stand in them until the counter runs down and they'll open up. And that will allow you to move on through the dungeon. There we go. Alright, and this is already the first boss. We're moving very quickly here. This boss actually has the same mechanic with the crystal lights as the beginning there. So you'll stand in here, and the boss is actually immune to all damage unless it is also in the light. So it's really important to make sure you're all in there. Now, Monk actually has a lot of different positionals. So, like, Boot Shine that I just used needs to be used from the back. Twin Snakes needs to be used from the side for additional damage. Snap Punch from the side as well. And effective use of these positional abilities is really key to being a decent monk, which I'm not even going to claim. And this crystal is dimming, so we need to start looking to relocating to the next crystal. Follow the tank, he'll do his thing. Here we are, got the second crystal. Unfortunately, in that move, I lost my stacks of Grease Lightning, so I'm going to lose quite a bit of my damage here. Alright, and we managed to take it out before the second crystal dimmed. So we're able to move on. Now this next part we're actually going to sack pull, so I'm not sure if you've seen that with this yet. So it's going to be no one but the tank is going to target any of the mobs. There will be no healing going out. Put the fairy away, and the tank is going to aggro everything. And we're going to run over to the next area where it's going to be safe for us to get ready for the next set we're going to fight. The tank is going to find a place out of the way and die, losing hate on all the mobs. And the rest of the party, without having done any actions on the enemies, is not going to have any hate on the tables. So they'll be able to stay outside of detection range. The mobs will return to their positions and will not harass the rest of the party. So yep, just gonna go straight in here, away from where things are, hide around the corner. Now hopefully the tank will be in range to be healed, or to be raised. There we go. So the scholar was able to raise the tank. He'll come over, get new buffs, and we'll be ready to go straight into the second boss. This boss is actually a lot of fun and a lot of rolls. There's a lot of movement involved. There's AoEs all over the place, frontal cones, back cones, adds that you can't target that are throwing circles on the ground. It's really chaotic, really hectic, and a lot of fun. Not sure where the tank decided to go there. DPSing, it's really easy to get into tunnel vision and lose track of what you're doing, lose track of mechanics just because you're too focused. So, hallmark of a good DPS and good player is to be able to keep high DPS while still doing mechanics without tunnel visioning too hard. One of those skills that just takes a lot of practice. You need to be able to do your job without even thinking about it. As you can see, there's all sorts of movement, all sorts of activity. It's quite a fun boss to take care of. Alright, this next bit is an AoE pull, so we need to get settled and take care of these as we can. Actually not that many mobs, so we may not actually be able to AoE much, because they're not clustering very well. Lots of ghosts, and as I've mentioned in previous episodes, they are very much caster mobs, and casters do not care to attack or don't care to move toward their targets. Now there's another batch here. Just a few skeletons, not too much to worry about. Not sure why he's running that way, but it's okay, it's okay. Alright, as before, just a couple of these terminals. There's one over there that the rest of the party's handling, and then I'm getting this here. Okay. Now there's a small set of mobs here. We'll see whether or not the tank wants to sack. Okay, it looks like he does. So we're going to speed run this through real quick again. I'm going to switch to a different stance, give us some faster movement. And as before, no one is going to heal, Fairy is going to be put away, and the tank is going to grab attention on all the mobs. We're going to charge through. Somehow I got hate on those, so the tank missed them. So I'm actually going to have to die too. Alright, now this is the last boss of this dungeon already. We're going very quickly here. This boss hits very hard. Becomes invincible when these crystals show up, and is altogether a general pain in the butt when you have new players in the dungeon. When you get used to it and you have more experienced players, you can usually make quick work of them, but this one can be quite the stopping block for a lot of groups. He's not very melee friendly. He has lots of AoEs that you can't really avoid while you're in melee range. And there's lots of disconnects with having to go off whenever he switches to his invincible modes like now. Now when he does go invincible and channels the synergy from the purple crystal, he's going to target one of the players at random, and they will be targeted by his desolation attack right there. It's actually going to be very damaging, usually, if not a one-shot, very close to it, so you do need to dodge out of that way. Alright, and once you've done the 3 crystals, he's going to, as the screen says, unleash his fury. So there's going to be, he drops down a lot of pools on the ground that will explode if you into them. So they're not very friendly. And he raises his attack with the damage up buff. And I got caught there. Well, he's almost dead. I'm just gonna run in and let him break. Alright. So that is DD, Dzemael Darkhold, and that was probably one of the quickest runs we've had. So, you saw how a bad monk plays. Woohoo! Saw how stack pulls run, how the speed runs go for this, and just in general the basic gist of this dungeon. Down the line I may come back to this one just to get a more thorough view, but honestly this is the way that most groups run this dungeon nowadays. As it is involved in the relic quest, and a lot of players come back for it that have already hit level 50, already well geared, and already know how to play the game pretty well. You don't get a whole lot of first timers through this one. So it's pretty much one of the stepping stones into the endgame dungeon scene. So this is probably going to be relatively standard for the rest of these videos. There will be fewer sack pulls as we get into the higher levels, but there will also be larger pulls in general, where we don't bother with dealing with a whole lot of mechanics and just kill everything before it kills us. So that has been this episode. Thank you for joining me on Duty Found. Have a good day, everybody, and I hope you join me next time. Have a good night.